Okay, so it's 2021. By this point, we're all over that whole, oh my god, I'm eating century egg shock video craze, I'm pretty sure. Because, century egg are super delicious, but also a pretty pedestrian thing at their core. Basically, just an alkaline cured egg that turns jello-y, gooey, and rich through the preservation process. So, given that we've all collectively grown up, I think, since the mid and early 10s, it's probably about high time to show you a few different ways of how to enjoy them. Now, of course, the most classic century egg dish is probably a pork and century egg congee. Like, it's a dish that I happily slurped down all the way back in college in Hong Kong without ever really knowing that the titular Pidan was actually the ever menacing century egg. But we did cover that dish a while ago on our channel before. So today we want to teach you 3 other ways that you can cook them up. So, first up is another absolute classic, century egg with silken tofu. Now, the most well-known version of this dish is likely the Taiwanese version, which is a relatively simple affair topped with thick soy sauce. That said, it's been covered pretty thoroughly on YouTube already, so instead we want to teach you a Shanghainese version of the same dish, topped with jiacai and chili oil that we like even better. Then we'll swing over to Guangdong and show you a Cantonese way of eating it by using it as a base for a simple home-style vegetables in soup, and finally teach you an awesome Hunan dish, which pounds century egg together with roasted chilies and uses it to top over some white rice. So, first up, Shanghai-style century egg with tofu. Super simple. First off, just toss a block of silken tofu in a big bowl, and in a separate bowl, dissolve 1 teaspoon of salt in with a bit of hot boiled water. Pour that in with the tofu, and top that with enough hot water to submerge it all completely. Now just let that sit there for at least 15 minutes, and while that's soaking, we can prep everything else. So, 1 century egg here. To open it up, just give it a crack on the wide side of the egg, then roll it around to crack the shell into a bunch of small pieces. Then just dunk it in a bowl of cool water, peel off all those little pieces, and you've got yourself a century egg. Then just cut that guy in half, give it a few chops in each direction, and don't worry if this is a bit of a messy dice. It's a bit hard to cut, and this will all just be smothering the tofu anyhow. Then besides that, we've got 15 grams worth of jiacai, Chinese preserved mustard greens. You should be able to see a whole bunch of flavors and types at your local Chinese supermarket. An original flavor like this one would be best, but pretty much anything except numbing spicy flavor would be okay. Just give that a quick mince and set it aside. Then back to our tofu. Just quickly pat it dry, slice it into about 1/2 centimeter sheets, and give it a chop in the other direction to slice that all in half. Then just move that over to your serving plate and top it with the chopped century egg and your now minced jiacai. Now, to a tiny pot, toss in 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon water, 3/4 teaspoon of sugar, a 1/2 tablespoon of little dried shrimps, optional for the vegetarians in the room, and a sprinkle of MSG. Bring that all up to a rapid boil, then pour it all over the tofu. At this point, quickly slice up 1 scallion, and then sprinkle that all over everything. Then to your now rinsed and dried little pot, toss in a 1/2 tablespoon each oil, preferably peanut, and toasted sesame oil. Bring all that up to smoke point and pour it over the scallions. Then at this point, you'll hit it with some chili oil. This was just a basic bottle of stuff, perfect for this application, but homemade would also obviously be okay as well. Pour over a 1/2 tablespoon's worth, and with that, your century egg tofu is done. A delicious, satisfying, and super quick little meal. Next up, Cantonese milky century egg soup with vegetables. Now, this dish is a super classic base for vegetables in restaurants in Guangdong when they don't feel like using up some fancy stock, and today we'll be whipping it up with a bit of Napa cabbage. This was just a 1/2 cabbage, about 350 grams worth, but really anything would be okay. Spinach, choysum, pea shoots, whatever you got on hand. Just chop it up into 1.5-inch sections, and then we can fry. So, as always when frying, first, long yao. Get your wok piping hot, shut off the heat, add in your oil, here about a 1/2 tablespoon, and give it a swirl to get a nice nonstick surface. Heat on medium-low now. Toss in 5 whole cloves of garlic, and fry them until good and golden brown. This will take a bit, about 5 minutes, but then once those are good and browned, remove the garlic together with that oil. Now go in with another 1/2 tablespoon of oil, and over a high flame, toss in 1 century egg chopped into 1-inch chunks, and fry it for about a 1/2 minute until the surface begins to blister. Then swirl a tablespoon of liaojiu, a.k.a. Shaoxing wine, over your spatula around the sides of the wok. Quick mix, then go in with 1 cup of hot boiled water. At this point, add in your vegetable, cook for about a minute or two or to your doneness of choice, and add back in the garlic and the garlicky oil. Heat off and out. Serve it in a deep plate, sprinkle over a bit of chopped cilantro, and that's it for your vegetable. Last up, lei lajiao century egg from Hunan. Now, lei, or pounded dishes, are like this whole category of thing from Hunan that are absolute fire topped over rice. And while we do want to do a whole video on lei dishes one day, this classic century egg version is as good of a starting place as any. To make it, first just grab 500 grams of green chili peppers. These guys are Anaheim's, but the cultivar is ultimately up to you. Roast them in the oven at 200 centigrade for 20 minutes. Then take them out, remove the tops, and transfer over to a plate. Then, in a large mortar, toss in 3 cloves of garlic, a quarter teaspoon sugar, and an 1/8 teaspoon each salt, Sichuan peppercorn powder, and MSG. Pound it all until pasty. Then toss in your now roasted chili peppers. At this point, you'll pound that all together. But how long you pound your peppers, and also the century egg that we'll add in just a sec, is ultimately up to you. In Hunan, they'll often serve this dish in mortar, and customers can pound to their liking if they so choose. I like mine more thoroughly pounded, Steph likes hers less, and because she's the one behind the mortar today, we kept ours on the less pounded side. So after about 5 minutes, or 10 if you like it more like I do, toss in a half tablespoon of soy sauce together with a teaspoon of dark Chinese vinegar and give it all a quick mix. Then grab 3 century eggs, quickly chop them into about half-inch chunks, and toss that in together with about a sprig of chopped cilantro. Quick pound, and then this is good to smother over some white rice.
So when buying, the way to tell if it's good pidan is that you can do this. And then you can almost feel some kind of like jiggly motion inside as if there's like some jello in. But Chris told me if I tell you guys this and you'll all be obsessive and find the jiggliest pidan. But really, pidan is mostly for flavor and not the texture. And even if you can't use a jiggle one and they're just more firm one, you will totally still be fine. So right, check out the recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. And of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.